I'm Sienna. I'm the kid.
I'm Sarah. I'm the mom.
This is Queer Kid Straight Mom.
Let's talk. Welcome back to Queer Kids Straight Mom. Today, as promised, we are playing our fun game, but make it gay. So we are going to talk about some movies from the past 10 years or so and let our imaginations run wild. So what's first, Sienna?
Okay, so because it turns out that we are apparently uncultured swine, we have not seen a lot of the movies that all of those smart critics out there say are the top movies of the 2010s. So we're just going to be working our way through some different lists and seeing if which of the movies we have seen and what we can say about them. So we're starting off with this Rolling Stone article talking about the top 50 movies of the 2010s, one of which is Black Panther, which I have seen.
And what do you have?
Okay, so FYI, like a significant portion of this episode is probably just going to be like me being that meme guy with the red string board, like pointing at it. First, I just think Shuri should be gay. I don't have like a textual basis for that. I just think she should be gay because she seems like she should be gay and she's cool. And like, have you seen the actor's cool pantsuit dress thingy? She should be gay.
That you were kind of modeling your prom pantsuit dress thingy after that a friend was going to make for you, and then COVID hit and there was no prom.
I never wore it. And then there was prom, but then it was too depressing because my girlfriend didn't live here. So like, why bother, you know? Anyway, so yeah, Shuri should be gay just because. Especially, I just think that would have been a fun plot line to add into Black Panther 2. I know that we're like, that's a different movie, but the same world, same characters, right? And obviously, we had to kill off the original Black Panther. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But then Shuri became the sort of star of that movie. And I just think her being gay could have been a fun addition to that movie. But these movies actually do have some sort of vaguely canonical queerness. I'm blanking on the character's actual name, but one of the cool character with like the gold neck thingy and the red uniform with the spear skills is there was actually supposed to be originally, I believe, a line in Black Panther where there was like kind of some flirtation between her and another female character. And then they ended up cutting that. But then in Black Panther 2, they do actually kiss. So it's already a little bit gay, but I just think it could be gayer. That's my feedback.
So for Black Panther, it's not so much but make it gay, but it's make it gayer.
Actually, quite a lot of this, because the thing is, there's a quite thin line, especially when you get into some shows and movies that deal with other cultures. If we happen to come across a couple of the Korean TV shows that I've watched, there are some of those where I'm like, I think that this very well could actually be intended to come across as gay, right? Like, especially given the way that relationships are frequently portrayed in East Asian media. Like, this could actually be deliberately queer, but it's not explicit. And so there's a thin line between make it gay and make it gayer.
Do they have rules against that in their media?
No, it's not even, right? So a similar thing in Japan. There was an anime that was very popular a few years ago called Yuri on Ice, which was about a relationship between two ice skaters, and I don't believe ever actually showed like a kiss on screen, but it's not because, actually, it's not even East Asian media. It's a lot of Asian media in general. Similar thing happens in Bollywood movies. Yes, Dollywood movies, go for it. Anyway, now in Bollywood movies where the level of like PDA is much lower, but it's not because of rules about queerness on screen necessarily. It's because PDA period. All of the PDA is much, much more restricted. And so the way that relationships are coded is actually different. So an Indian viewer, for instance, could watch a movie like Baraido, and those characters never kiss. The most physical interaction you get between them is a hug, but it's very, very clearly a queer movie, like explicitly a queer movie. And so as an Indian viewer, you would watch that movie and be like, well, yeah, that's like the equivalent of a makeout session on screen.
Didn't know that.
So that was off topic, but right, there's a thin line between make it gay and make it gayer. It's not always clear.
Okay.
And so now we're going to move on to another movie. Let's see what the next one on here that any of us have actually seen is. Have I ranted about Call Me By Your Name on here before?
A decent chance, but I'm not sure.
I haven't seen it. I object to the entire premise. It's about a relationship between an underage man and a man who's like 7 years older. It's gross. I don't know why that's the movie that we nominated for a bunch of awards and decided is the best queer movie of the last 10 years, but I digress. I believe the next one on here that I have seen was The Grand Budapest Hotel, which I watched with Irene recently. And it's very entertaining. Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen it.
So it's Wes Anderson, so you know it's going to be wild. And it's kind of difficult to summarize the plot. It's like this dude owns a hotel, and then this guy moves there and starts working there. And then no, you know what? He doesn't own the hotel. He's like one of the higher up, like the staff manager of the hotel. And then they like go on a whole adventure all over Europe. And there's something about like a painting and an inheritance with a lady he was having an affair with. And then there are Nazis. And then I think he gets shot by a Nazi at the end. So that was kind of a bummer. But it was very entertaining. And this is another example of where the line between make it gay and make it gayer is a little bit ambiguous because actually, so first of all, that guy, the one who dies eventually, is actually pretty, to me at least, seemed very very queer coded. Like, I don't know, he's just kind of flamboyant, like kind of like you look at him and you're like, are you gay? You seem like you should be gay. And there's an exchange in the movie where the family of this lady he had the affair with is really angry that he got the inheritance because, I don't know, they want the money, I guess. And so he's like having an argument with her grandson, I think, or her son. And he's like, you like seduced my grandma, blah, blah, blah. But like a minute ago, he had called him gay. And so the guy's like, didn't you just say I'm gay? And the guy's like, well, you're bisexual. And then he's like, let's change the subject. I don't like this conversation. Which is, say, right, like, okay, so he's bisexual, I guess. But it's never like that's the only time it really comes up. So again, an interesting thing. I think it could have been more gay. I think it could have been brought up more. That's just my preference. And now we have to find yet another movie because I have seen none of these.
Oh, I saw Lady Bird.
Should it have been gay?
Well, given the choice of boys that she has a relationship with versus her relationship with her best friend, I think her best friend would have been a better choice of people to have a relationship with. So from that sense, it would have been better for her if it was gay. Put it that way. I don't know if it would have like made the movie inherently better unless like for you, like it's always inherently better if it's gay, but it certainly would have, the boyfriend was not a good move. So
they rarely are. Oh, I still need to watch Paris.
I know. I still haven't seen it.
Oh, is Carol gay? Carol's gay, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, and it has Cate Blanchett, so it's probably gay.
Oh, because all the gays love Cate Blanchett.
Yeah, this is funny. Like, I think she's a very pretty lady, but I never knew that was like a thing. But apparently lesbians are obsessed with Cate Blanchett.
Mad Max Fury Road. I wish we had. That feels like it could be a really interesting conversation.
I bet it could. I bet there's something in Mad Max that should be gay. But alas, I have seen none of the Mad Max movies. Oh, Get Out. Ooh, interesting.
How do you make that one gay? I mean, obviously you could just make anybody gay, but like, how would this story be?
So here again with our thin line, it's very interesting, right? When we see, and spoilers for, by the way, anyone who hasn't seen any of these movies, I guess it's a little bit late, but like big spoilers. But right, you see the girlfriend going through, or like he finds all of the photos of all of the people that she's like seduced and brought home to have their brains swapped. And right, there are a couple of women in there, but it's not clear, obviously. Like, we don't know, did she seduce these women? Or was it just like oh, you're my friend, come home and meet my parents?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting detail that was sort of just dropped in there.
She would be a much more multidimensional evil seductress.
Lesbian girl boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. In general, I would say that Get Out is the rare piece of media that I'm happy with. I don't think it needs to be gay per se. Like, I think I mean, because the entire thing is really a critique of the dominant culture. And so if you really leaned too hard into making anyone gay, I just feel like it would muddy things, you know?
Huh. Kudos to Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele's a genius. That's one of the best movies ever.
It's a good movie. Creepy. So creepy, but good. The Social Network I saw. I mean, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but obviously the fighting over, the business partner gone bad thing could become much more dramatic if it was also a love affair gone bad.
Anything that involves a rivalry between two overdramatic men should definitely be gay.
Mm-hmm.
That's my rule.
Seems fair.
I mean, really, a rivalry between two overdramatic women also works. It's just that I feel like the movies with the men tend to be really homoerotic coded, you know?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, there's just that vibe. And look, number one on their list is Moonlight, which is also queer.
Mm-hmm.
So nice job. I don't even have to criticize that because, I mean, I haven't seen it, but everyone loves it and it's queer. So, Okay, now we're going to move on to IMDb's best movies of this decade. Have you seen Interstellar?
Mm-mm.
It has good music. That's really what I know.
Oh, I saw Manchester by the Sea. It was really good. It was very depressing. You'll have to watch it and tell me what you think. I don't see the story being enhanced in any way by having gayness, but you should watch it. It also has really good music. Beautiful music.
Okay, Inception. There's an interesting one.
Right. Make it gay.
It could almost be an allegory, kind of like The Matrix, but in reverse almost. You know how The Matrix is like an allegory for transness?
Like the trying to get acceptance thing from his dad?
Well, not even that. Ooh, I don't even remember that plot line.
Remember the guy that they were trying to get to sell the company after his dad dies? That was the whole thing, right? They were trying to get into his dreams.
Right.
And that thing they finally showed him to get him to do it was feeling accepted by his dad.
Oh, that is always one where it's like Dead Poet Society, right? Where anytime you have that kind of dynamic with a parent, I'm like,
yeah, because it was his dad. Basically, it was his dad ultimately saying that these relationships are more important than the money and the power. And
so what I was actually getting at was the wife, right? And how the wife is like, gets sort of sucked into it and ends up committing suicide. And if you imagine that as like feeling as though you're living a lie.
And the real world starts to feel less like the one you want to be in.
Right, because the real world is rubbish sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like there's potential here. I feel like we have to rewatch it now.
Yeah. Yeah, like her life with her family.
Right.
Becomes less and less real to her because it doesn't have the infinite possibility. Interesting. I like it.
Yeah. See, adding the gay just makes everything more interesting. It's a fact. Okay, I like this list better, by the way.
We've seen some of them.
Yeah, like Toy Story 3. Does Toy Story 3 need to be gay?
I just would, like, people online would be so irritating if Toy Story 3 was gay.
It's true. I mean, they're toys. Can they really be gay? How does gender work for toys?
I don't know, but the strawberry bear could like sacrifice himself to save whichever of maybe the like sausage dog Slinky that he had fallen.
Well, but I did. I mean, there is an interesting thing here, right? Because there's this whole gender subplot, right? About like what it means to be masculine, because Lotso's like enforcing this toxic masculinity onto all of the toys.
Because he lost his quote unquote mother's love. The baby that was like his mom, right?
The child?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She carried him around and loved him. Like his source of love deserted him.
So not necessarily gay, but I mean, I feel like there's an intrinsic queerness in this exploration of toxic masculinity.
Interesting and interesting.
Strawberry bear.
Yes. lots though in his fragile masculinity.
And then you have Ken.
Oh, and there was that great scene where like he said like they said something to Barbie, and all of a sudden she just blurted out some like really intellectual like
Yeah, it's
like all Ken wanted to do was try on clothes.
but then he also turned out to be like all nice and like Sunnyside could be cool and groovy.
Right? So you don't have to be hyper masculine to still be a good, important pillar of a functional society.
And all of these other toys are always making fun of him for like being all obsessed with his clothes and being a pretty boy. But then it turns out that all of these other toys just want love.
Did you know that Toy Story 3 was actually a gender equity manifesto?
This is brilliant. Okay, moving on. Oh, here we have Inside Out. I think Riley should be gay.
Oh, why?
She plays hockey.
I think the happy joy and sadness should be some like additional like tension there.
See, I don't know. I feel as though a romance inside a child's head would be a little bit forced,
that could also get really icky.
Yeah. Personally, I just think Riley should be gay. She plays hockey. She's around like all these cool, tough girls all the time. Also, I think I saw someone who looks like she should be a love interest in the commercial for the next movie.
Oh,
make it gay.
All right. What else we got? Oh, Black Swan. Well, I mean,
I almost watched that one for my piece in high school, right?
Yeah. So you still haven't seen it?
No.
I mean, it is. They do have asexual. The two like lead ballerina girls do have asexual relationship.
But from what you've explained, it's almost like it's not like the sexual relationship is part of her unraveling, right?
Because that's one of those things about that movie is like you're a little bit like, did that really happen, or did she just imagine that happened? Yes, definitely part of the unraveling. So it might be not really good gayness, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting when the gayness is almost more of a plot device and an allegory than actual gayness.
Yeah. It was a very good movie, but really disturbing. Oh, Gone Girl. You haven't seen Gone Girl.
Mm-mm.
So creepy also, but good. Ultimately, I don't know if this character is actually, she's very narcissistic. So
narcissism is kind of gay.
Well, but like, I don't know that I guess there could be like casual gay, but I don't know that she's capable of like a quality relationship.
Said about Loki.
Yeah. So I don't know that there would be quality gay relationship in there.
But it doesn't have to be a quality.
There could be gay. I mean, there could, I guess, along her path of using people, you could have thrown in a gay victim if you wanted to.
All right. Next, we have The Imitation Game. That's an interesting one because, again, here we have like, I mean, it's about Alan Turing and like my dude is gay. Historically, he was gay. And
right.
One of like part of the plot to an extent is that he was like convicted of homosexuality and forced to go through chemical castration, which is, ugh. But I mean, to me, they really made it not a big part of the movie, I thought. Like they really reduced the significance of that.
Yeah.
I think it should have been more gay.
Okay. That falls into the category of gayer.
Yes.
The King's Speech was good, but there's not a lot of potential for gayness there, I don't think.
La La Land.
I don't know that it would enhance it.
Yeah, Clear Spot. I feel like that's one where like maybe you have something in the background, you know?
Like gay friends.
Yeah, or just like like there are loads of scenes of people dancing, so maybe you have a gay couple dancing, right? Like there's so like all that choreography.
Yeah.
Ooh, Arrival. It's been a very long time since I saw that.
Yeah. I feel like I remember enough details.
Yeah. Although it is sad sci-fi, and I feel like sad sci-fi always has a lot of potential for queerness. So I feel like we should go back and rewatch it.
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures should be gay.
One of them should have been gay. Although they're also real people. So.
They're real people. But was one of them, am I just thinking of Sally Ride and like Space Women and just being...
I mean, Janelle Monáe was in it. Janelle Monáe is queer.
That's probably what it is. I just remember getting very queer vibes.
Yeah.
From the character. It would have been more fun that way. Oh, The Big Short.
I haven't seen it.
I don't know. There's lots of like obnoxious rich men being rich capitalist men.
So there's probably a lot of like hidden games.
Probably. The Avengers.
The Avengers.
I know you have things you want to discuss here.
Yeah. So go ahead and tell everybody the gay that you want in the Avengers.
Okay, well, I want to clarify that I'm not like, a lot of people are very hardcore about Captain America and Bucky, or Steve and Bucky, and they're like very invested in it. And I see it. I would be happy with that. That would please me. That would bring me joy. I see where people are coming from there. I'm not like, they're a couple, I'm so obsessed with them, you know, I want to write fan fiction about them and live out my fantasy world in my head where they get together. It's fine. They're not like one of my top couples. My main gripe is that A, there is no significant queer relationship in any of the whole Avengers universe, and B, that I guess they were so concerned about how gay Bucky and Steve looked that they felt like they had to throw Shannon Carter in as like a decoy love interest, which, by the way, is so uncomfortable. Would it really be more weird to have Steve and Bucky get together as like the last two people on Earth who actually understand one another than to have him date the granddaughter of his ex? That's weird. That's weird, and I don't like it. And also, then they like kissed or something, and then she just like disappeared for all eternity until
Your work here is done.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Like you made it look not gay. Okay, get out of here. I got no worries for this guy. And then she comes back and she's like a villain in was it Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think. And it's just weird. It irritates me that they felt the need to do that. That seemed a more workable solution to them than just making them gay.
Yeah.
If the plot is pulling so hard in a gay direction that you have to like do all of those plotline gymnastics, then maybe you should just let it be gay.
Stop fighting the gay.
Right?
My 2 cents on that is just like we had this conversation the other day, but I just feel like when people push so hard for that relationship, I'm very worried that it makes all of the straight like bros feel like they can't express emotion for their friends without being afraid that people are going to assume that they're gay. And maybe I'm just being way too indulgent of like fragile masculinity, but I want there to be able to be relationships depicted where people have a deep emotional bond, but can still be straight.
So I think where it got really frustrating to me, and when I look at the Avengers movies, what bothers me is that, I mean, there's so much potential for all of these relationships that they have going on here, right? Like, I mean, Steve and what's his name? Iron Man's relationship has loads of interesting potential there, right? And they are bro dude friends, but they could have had a more developed relationship, and it never really took that. So, I mean, they could have spent more time developing other relationships between men that are purely platonic and also had a queer relationship.
Well, then wouldn't Iron Man just be the Sharon Carter? Like he's just there to prove that you can have a gay relationship and still have your straight bro relationships?
No, because that is a vibe that already exists. Their like bromance is already part of the weaving of these movies. It's just that it never gets played out to its full potential. And then they die.
All right. Moving on.
Okay. The Martian. Yeah, there's no gay potential.
Like
there's like one dude on Mars. Yeah.
Midnight in Paris is so good. I mean, some of those people had to have been gay. Have you seen it?
No.
It's so good. I think I've told you about it. They're like in Paris, and obviously this guy goes out and he's engaged to this woman who's actually kind of horrible, but he goes out and wanders at night, and like a car pulls up and he gets in, and then it like takes him back to like Paris with Hemingway and Fitzgerald, and all of those people are there.
Oh
like,
yeah. Weren't they like actually historically gay?
There's that like suspected thing, right? So I guess they could have, like, I think you were aware that there was the tension between Hemingway and Zelda Fitzgerald in the movie, but I don't think there was any of that. So yeah, you could have gotten some of that Hemingway Fitzgerald spark thing in there if you wanted to.
Well, and if they were going to put the Zelda and Hemingway conflict in there anyway, I feel like nodding towards the relationship between Hemingway and Fitzgerald, and I'm saying this as someone who has no idea what the movie is about, but I feel like that would have made it make more sense.
Yeah. And see, I feel like they almost, and this is an impression. I will have to watch it and then I can refresh myself because I might be remembering this wrong, but like just based on my impression, I feel like they almost made it look like the tension, and maybe that was there too, that the tension was between Hemingway and Zelda.
Oh, like they have romantic chemistry?
Yeah.
Boo! Historical erasure. Ew.
Excellent movie though.
Boo.
So good.
Okay, moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, as you can see, I'm only interested in the genre films here. It's fine. Okay, Nebula is gay. Change my mind.
I could see that.
All right, done.
Oh, Silver Linings Playbook. You watched that yet?
No.
That is on my short list with like Love Actually, of like my favorite movies ever. Like the movies I could just watch over and over and over again. I could never get sick of. Like favorite. To me, I have no notes. So you'll have to watch it and see if you have different feelings about it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, I had notes on Love Actually, so
Great. Next time we revisit this game, we can see what Sienna's notes are on Silver Linings Playbook.
all right, here we've got Coco. Okay, Coco's a cute movie, right? It's a good movie, solid Pixar work. However, it's driving me up the wall that they keep making all of these Disney and Pixar movies that are about like the challenges of a traditional family that you cannot get to understand your true love of life. And it's never gay. It's never queer. And like, I get that, oh, one or two are good because they help kids understand it without it being like saying this must be in a gay context, right? There are other contexts in which families are difficult, but queerness is such a common part of that experience that some of these movies, like Coco, Turning Red, Encanto, some of them should be gay.
Clearly, Bruno should be gay.
Yeah, right? Bruno's also autistic. There's a different version of this game called Make It Autistic.
All right, stay tuned.
But yeah, I want more because it's so important. And when people watch this and it just gets ignored. So yes, make Coco or like just any of these Disney Pixar movies, make them gay.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Do I even want to touch this?
Oh, J.K. Rowling, you hurt our hearts.
We're both staring at the sky mournfully. I just want them to all be trans just to offend her.
Fair enough.
Oh, The Shape of Water.
I didn't see that.
I mean, there's something sort of intrinsically queer about falling in love with an ocean monster and running away with him in the face of government depression and scrutiny.
As a kind of metaphorical.
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, and I think her, the guy she lived with, the artist dude who had like a bunch of cats, I think he was gay. So yeah, cool.
Dallas Buyers Club. I mean, that's just way too. You haven't seen that, have you?
No.
Do you know what it's about?
Nope.
So it's at the beginning, like in the early days of the AIDS crisis, and it was really hard to get like medical treatment. And there ended up being sort of a group of people that was like managing to get these drugs and like creating a marketplace. Do you know kind of about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about that. I mean, it's the main character is a straight man who gets HIV through a heterosexual encounter. But I feel like that's a little important because you're also trying to show people that it wasn't. You make more people care about it, sadly, right? If it's not just the gay.
Yeah, it's really challenging. It's like, on the one hand, it's a little bit straight washy, right? Because in reality, the majority of people were not contracting HIV through heterosexual sex. The majority were either sex workers, gay and bisexual men,
and all of those
women.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is represented in there too. And it's kind of an interesting thing that he's like he's very cowboy masculine, and so he has to kind of navigate all of a sudden being part of this world that's interacting with these people that are not people that he would have been okay with.
Right. It's interesting. I feel like it very much has to do with how it's handled.
Yeah, I'm interested to have you watch it and
Yeah.
see what you think. It also
See it.
confirmed what everybody already knew, that Jared Leto makes a very pretty transgender.
All right. Here we have Les Miserables. All right. Enjolras and what's his name? What's the guy he dies with?
Oh, the really melodramatic one?
Yeah.
That like drinks a lot?
Yeah. Grand Terror?
You know, it starts with a G. Okay.
Yes, it's definitely gay. And according to Sasha, my friend, I have not read the book, but Sasha read the book and is very convinced that there is a lot of gay subtext between them in the book.
Really? I read the book.
Yeah, but that was like when you thought Dead Poet Society was straight.
That was actually right around the same time.
Exactly.
Interesting. I have a hard time buying that Marius is actually straight, what with some of his goings on.
And I believe that Eponine is actually trans. That's not something I have a lot of textual evidence for, but it's like if I were going to rewrite Les Mis, Eponine would be trans.
I feel like there's plenty of potential.
There is so much, but revolutions are gay. Fighting against the status quo is gay.
Yeah. And Jean Valjean like never had a
relationship. I think Jean
right?
Valjean is asexual.
Oh, that makes sense. Javert could be a closeted gay man.
Explain a lot.
Some of the anger.
Follow the rules. I'm working so hard over here. The part if you don't. Okay, now we've got How to Train Your Dragon. This is a good one because actually, so I don't think there's anything in the first movie. But then this was one of those very aggressive red string crazy guy moments where I like was pausing the movie and pointing at it aggressively at people like, look, that's gay. But okay, in the second movie, there's a line where, what's his name? What's the man's name? Stoic's friend.
Oh, the
blonde one.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, regardless, so the guy goes, it's like the Hiccup's parents get reunited and it's all lovely and romantic and well, and then they're talking about cooking and how the mom was a terrible cook. And the guy goes, Gobber, that's it.
Yeah.
He's like, that's why I never got married. Well, that and one other reason.
Yes.
And that came out before I was really had my gaydar finely tuned. But I remember seeing people on the internet being like, oh yeah, there's a canonically gay character in How to Train Your Dragon. And I, going back and watching it, I assume that's what they're referring to.
I assumed that when I saw it, and I, according to you, have zero gaydar. So
because that was 2010, so I would have been how old? I mean, under 10 years old, right? Yeah, I had no gaydar then. It's fine. But then in How to Train Your Dragon 3, and then of course there's this other dude who gets introduced in How to Train Your Dragon 2, where what's her name is all in love with him, but he's like completely uninterested, and it's ha ha ha, very funny. Then in How to Train Your Dragon 3, there are like a couple of scenes between those two where I believe Gobber refers to him as having the body of a Norse god, and then at the end, Hiccup and Astrid get married, and then she throws the bouquet, or no, Gobber throws the bouquet. This is important. And then Eric, son of Erickson or whatever, catches it. Gay.
Yeah.
So would I love to see more done with that? Yes. But as animated children's movies go, I feel like that's pretty solid.
Yeah. Captain America, we don't need to really talk about. Wind River was very good, but yeah, not really a lot to do with that.
Star Wars The Force Awakens. I think this is another one that you would probably have similar thoughts about, right? With Poe and Finn and Poe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole trilogy was just such a mess because they kept changing directors and obviously the vibes were just going back and forth and all over the place. Because first it's are Finn and Rey gonna be a thing? And then what's her name? Rose gets introduced in the second movie, and then it's Rose and Finn are gonna be a thing, and then
everybody hated her.
Gets completely abandoned in the third movie, which is so crappy.
I think I just always wanted Finn and Rey to be a couple still.
I was and that's the first one came out, I think, when I was still in my shipping heterosexual couples phase. Embarrassing. So I feel like I started off with that, but then I watched the third one, and I feel like there was I also understand why people wanted Finn and Poe to be together. I understand that. I see where people are coming from.
Okay.
It was just, honestly, the trilogy was just too much of a mess for me to really get invested in any relationship.
Yeah, they did make it hard to get invested in relationships. I saw American Hustle, but I don't, it was really entertaining, but there's not a lot that stuck with me about it. So anyway, we've probably filled our time.
I have one more. One more, which wasn't on this list, but I would like to talk about it. And you're going to have to hear about one of those Korean TV shows I was talking about, which I know isn't entirely related, but it's relevant to what I'm going to say, I promise. So, Hunger Games. Hunger Games should be more gay. Again, Revolution is gay. What's interesting about this, and this is another one of those things that I did not pick up on when I first read the series, and it sort of gets glossed over a lot in the book, or in the movie, sorry. But the main reference in the trilogy is that, you know, when in Mockingjay, when Finnick is like doing that broadcast that's carrying a jammer to distract the Capitol when they go in to rescue PETA, he's like talking about how he was basically forced into sex work by President Snow. And so everybody thinks of him as like this playboy who has all of these lovers in the Capitol. And then it turns out that he's actually in love with this girl from back at home. And it's like very tragic and everything. But specifically, the words he used is that President Snow would sell my body to men and women. And so it's weird. It's a weird thing there because that's queer in a very like twisted sense, where Finnick as a character, I think very well could be bisexual. I get that vibe from him. I'd be happy with that. But can you really say that someone who is forced to have sexual relationships with people of the same gender is queer? No. And then, of course, in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, in the book, I haven't seen the movie. So, you know, if anyone has seen the movie and wants to fill me in on how this gets handled in the movie, cool. But in the book, there's like one reference to like a same-sex couple who lived in the Capitol and like owned a store and were all flamboyant. And so what's interesting about this is it got me thinking because I watched Squid Game, which is like very popular. Probably people have seen it. I know you haven't seen it, but it's kind of like Hunger Games if Hunger Games were more morally ambiguous. There's a part where like one of the main characters has like disguised himself as a servant and he's like serving wine to all of these rich people. And then like one of the dudes wants to have sex with him. And again, like non-consensual, you know, just icky. And again, we have this very kind of excessive, like it's these rich people who are so rich that they can construct like basically an entire island where they watch people kill each other for entertainment. And there's all of this like ostentation in both of these kind of dystopian situations where it seems as though queerness and flamboyance becomes a tool for depicting like the excess of society.
Yeah, I can see that. So it almost like links it to a negative, especially with like the Capitol, right? Like it's like a place of depravity.
Right, exactly. And, you know, even the men in the Capitol are like super over the top and dress in like sparkly suits and have fake eyelashes and colorful hair and stuff. And the one man from the Capitol, excepting Plutarch Heavensbee, because I don't even know what's going on in his head, but the one man from the Capitol who's treated as like a genuine hero is Cinna. And one of his defining characteristics is that he isn't all over the top. And that the only sort of decoration he has going on his person is like gold eyeliner, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a weird thing. And, you know, I really like Squid Game and I really like Hunger Games, and I think they're both very well done. But maybe let's not do that.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
It's like, here's this very corrupt, hedonistic society, and see, that's where those people fit in.
Right.
Yeah.
Back to our original point, though, because that got a little bit heavy for a minute there. Also, Squid Game is actually one of the examples of those shows I was talking about earlier, where I'm low-key convinced that Kang Se-byuk, the girl who dies first, where they have to like play each other in marbles and decide which one of them will move on and which one of them will die. And there's like all of this, there's this tragic thing going on where like the girl basically keeps saying Kang Se-byuk is from North Korea. She like escaped and she's been trying to raise her brother alone, basically. So she desperately needs money, which is why she's there. And so this other girl keeps saying all these things like, what, you've never heard of like, you know, the Caribbean? You've never had a margarita? Like, we got to do. And so she keeps, and they're just sitting there talking, and they're like, every few minutes, she's like, oh, well, when we get out of here, oh, wait. And so she ends up basically being like, you have stuff to go back to. Like, you need to take care of your little brother. And I just got out of prison for murdering my abusive dad, and I have like nothing waiting for me in the world. So like, I'm going to throw the game and I want you to be the one who goes on. It's so different. Tragic. I really think that there is at least a sort of subtextual queer coded relationship there. I mean, obviously, you know, they were in a horrible situation for 2 days together, and that's not enough time for like an actual relation, but like the potential, you know?
Yeah.
Like I got that vibe very strongly when I watched it. So in my mind, that's canon. Not that it matters because they both died, but
on that note, that wraps up our first edition of Make It Gay. More to come in the future. you have ideas, let us know. Next week, we are going to talk about good ways to approach people about using a chosen name. We had a listener request some advice on how to bring that up with their parents. And so we thought it could be really helpful to people to kind of hear about what has worked well, what hasn't worked well, and, from kids on how parents reacted that was positive and how parents reacted that was not as positive. So our parent listeners can have some advice on that situation as well. Till then, enjoy. I hope it's springy where you are, not as much where we are. We'll catch you later.
Bye.
If you found this podcast helpful, interesting, or just mildly amusing, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. It really helps us to get the word out there and spread this information as far as we can.
And as always, check out our website at queerkidsstraightmom.com or visit us on Facebook, Queer Kid Straight Mom, Instagram at queerkid.straightmom, or Twitter at queerkidstr8mom.
And if you're feeling especially generous, please consider joining our Patreon by searching Queer Kids Straight Mom. It helps us fund this podcast.